We the lazy declare that we will recline when we feel inclined. And yes, we feel inclined.
We answered our kids' questions all day. It's our time to prioritize, no priorities.
Why?
Because
We put in back-to-back doubles. So now we'll be putting in extra OT right here.
We've checked off our to-do list.
Now we're checking off our to-don't list.
We the lazy are taking back lazy.
By getting comfy on our Lazy Boy furniture.
Lazy Boy. Long live the lazy.
Time, weather, and always.
How you doing, everybody? I'm Chief Meteorologist Denis Phillips. Heat's still the hot topic of weather conversation, right? Just smashed the previous record for rainfall in Tampa. Still a very nice day. We've got some clouds out there, even a couple of sprinkles as another front rolls through the area. Most of us wake up to sunshine and then very warm temperatures in the afternoon. Our temperatures, they're going up and they're staying up. Really nice forecast, especially if you're planning on going to the beach or the pool. Rain chances very slim. It's another beautiful day in store. It's going to bring us a very high chance of storms. Isolated showers across the area. Mother Nature likes to remind us that it isn't set by a calendar. We are always on it for you, just in case things begin to pop.
Streaming from the ABC Action Weather Center in Studio A. This is Denis Phillips Live, sponsored by Lazy Boy Furniture Galleries. Level up your lazy moments. Visit one of our 6 Bay Area showrooms today. Lazy Boy, long live the lazy.
How you doing, everybody? ABC Action News Chief Meteorologist Denis Phillips. Happy New Year. My first day back after a week and a half off. All the kids came home. Didn't really even leave the house. I mean, imagine 6 kids, spouse, dogs. It was mayhem, and I loved it. So really happy to be back, though. And tonight we are streaming on Instagram as well. I just actually figured out how to do that today, so I'm clearly behind the times on that. But for all the folks who are watching on Instagram, I see you right here. So how goes it? We're going to be talking about weather. We are going to be giving updates as well on Washington and Michigan. Yes, I do know the national championship game is on. The Natty starts kickoff in about 7 minutes. It is not on ABC. It's on ESPN, so I have that right over there as I'm watching it on one side. But we do have a lot of weather to talk about. Want to get into that, want to answer some questions. And I do think, a lot of folks have been asking about, does this storm seem to be getting more press, more play, more hype? A word that you guys know that really grinds me. I'm not about hype at all. But here's what I think goes on. I think because there is so much out there and you're surrounded by feeds, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Instagram, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, all of the above, I just think we're surrounded by it more. 10 years ago, you might only have 1 or 2 options where you'd be hearing it haphazardly. You're being flooded with it in all different directions. So my goal tonight is to tell you exactly what's going to happen with tomorrow. Folks, it's a cold front. It's a squall line. We get 2, 3, 4 every single winter. Is this one stronger than most? It's stronger than some, it's weaker than others. But this is not a replay of what happened last month for one very obvious reason. A month ago when we had our flooding, it was at a king tide, which truthfully we're at a very high tide coming up tomorrow night as well. So that's kind of about the same. But the difference is that area of low pressure moved onshore 50 miles north of Tampa. This one's 1,000 miles away in Kansas City. So everything about this is very different, and the impacts in our area are going to be very different as well. So people asking about school closing, I'll be honest. Look, it's better safe than sorry. And the reason I understand why some decisions are being made, especially Pasco North, because the risk of severe weather is a little bit higher in those counties, as you see behind me in the area in orange. They're higher north, less central, even less south. But the timing of the rough weather would be between around 1 and 2-ish until 4. So when school is getting out. So I think some folks within the administrations are saying, hey, better safe than sorry. And I'm not going to scoff at that. Look, you know, I believe in that better safe than sorry. But do I think that this particular squall line is going to be any worse than a couple of squall lines we get every year? I don't. The coastal flooding is an issue, though, because it's happening at high tide and we have that wind coming in. So, yes, there will be water rise. And when you hear about a coastal flood warning, look, we're talking along the Gulf and the Bay. If you live away from the Gulf and the Bay, it doesn't impact you. There's not going to be a ton of rain. Did you hear that one? There's not going to be a ton of rain. Why? Because this is going to be in and out like that. Most areas will see no more than 20 minutes of heavy rain and gusty winds along with the threat of severe weather. Now, within those 20 minutes, if you're having an isolated tornado or you get severe weather, then we cannot dismiss that, and that will happen. There will be some severe weather. I think there will be a few isolated tornadoes, early to mid-afternoon until about 6 o'clock. But covering the entire area, the overall risk of severe weather in terms of a widespread event is pretty low. Water rise is going to be an issue, all right? So people are asking about airport delays. In the afternoon, yeah. I mean, sure, there could be some airport delays as the squall line comes through. Could the Skyway close? Absolutely. For a half-hour stretch as the squall line comes through, I could see the Skyway closing. Do I think it's going to be an all-day deal? It will not be an all-day deal. It will not even be raining in the morning, but it is going to be windy in the morning. It's going to be windy from 30 to 35 mile an hour, 40 mile an hour gusts in the morning, even before the rains pop. All right? And then in the afternoon is when the line comes through. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you a complete overview of the forecast, and then I will start to answer questions. Right now, I'm not going to answer questions. We've got 7,000 people in on Facebook. We have thousands in on Instagram, YouTube. The only thing I've not been able to figure out yet at this point is how to stream on TikTok, and I kind of want to. They use their own platform. I'm using a multi-platform, and it doesn't let me do that. So if I can figure that one out, then we could hit all of the major platforms. But let's go ahead and take graphics full, and I'm going to give you guys what I think's going on, and then I'll answer questions. Again, I don't expect widespread airport delays. I think there'll be some closures, maybe for an airport warning as the actual squall line comes through. So let's go ahead and just keep this real. It's a squall line. Within a squall line, there could be some severe weather, but will it be a widespread severe weather event? I don't think so. Water rise. Here's the first thing I want to talk about. Because the last storm, in spite of the fact that we showed this map over and over again, talking about up to a 4 to 5 foot water rise, we had some people say, you didn't let us know. It's a bunch of malarkey. We did let you know, but maybe you weren't listening. So listen if you live in the water this time, all right? There will be some coastal flooding. There will be some water rise. The usual suspects, so to speak, the Shore Acres area. You will see water rise. Are you going to get as much water as you did last one? I don't think you will, but it's still going to be enough water that there could be some water coming into places. So you have to plan accordingly. And I'm going to say this because this kind of struck me last time. Personal accountability is a thing, right? And if you live on the water, you got to take the personal accountability. If there's a chance, if there's a coastal flood warning, which there is, if there's a 2 to 3 foot water rise, maybe a little more north of Pasco, you know your property. We're going to have a southerly wind for the morning. It'll go southwest in the afternoon. It'll go northwest once the front comes through. So you need to know at what point it impacts you directly. There's no evacuations. There's nothing like that. But yeah, there is going to be some water rise in these spots, as there usually is. So plan accordingly for that. If that means some sandbags in your areas, then you have time to do that tomorrow morning. But saying that, you know, the Weather Service or the local weather people didn't let you guys know, we're letting you know. It's what you do with that information is on you. And I'm going to help you get through it. But clearly it's something that I just think people need to know their area. Know your zone, as they said, right? All right, by the way, the game has not started yet. I will be giving you updates as well. All right, so that's a look at the potential water rise. High tide is mid-evening tomorrow night. Now, let's talk about this severe threat. It's a scale of 1 to 5, all right? I suspect we will see a tornado watch tomorrow afternoon. I love to use the example of a taco watch and a taco warning. Taco watch is the lettuce and the tomatoes and the cheese and the hot sauce and the shells and the meat are all separate. A taco warning is a fully enveloped taco. I could really use a taco right now. But a watch means the pieces are there, but it isn't happening yet. A warning means you got a big old taco. All right, so if you see a tornado watch tomorrow, which I think there's a legitimate chance we will, it means the ingredients are ripe for development, but we don't have one yet. If one develops, whether it's the Doppler signature or someone spots one, then we have a tornado warning. Okay? And I agree with you, Paul. Tacos are great. So, all right. So there we go. There's still a kickoff. We're still not a kickoff yet. Washington's just coming out of the locker room. So we got time. All right. Northern counties, a 3 out of 5 risk, an enhanced risk of severe weather. When we say severe weather, we mean winds greater than 50, 55 miles an hour and a few possible tornadoes. Higher risk northern counties. Pinellas, half of Pasco, all of Hillsborough southward is a slight risk. It's usually about a 5 to 15% risk. Isolated tornadoes are possible. I do not believe flooding is going to be much of an issue except for along the coast. Let me be very clear about this one. I'm going to spell this one out. Flooding will not be a major issue with rainwater. Why? Because it is going to rain too quickly. It's only going to rain for 45 minutes in most spots. You're not going to flood. It could come down, but you're not going to flood. The flooding is water being pushed in from the bay or the Gulf. It is seawater. It is not rainwater, okay? So the chances of flooding from fresh water are very low because it's not going to be raining long enough to do so. It's going to be a very fast-moving squall line, all right? So we got that. Let's go next, okay? There's a look at radar. Nothing to worry about tonight. Nothing to worry about tomorrow morning, but it will be windy tomorrow morning. You have your trash out tomorrow, watch out. Your garbage can could blow down the street. It's a true story. So if they come and take your garbage in the morning, then just remember that you better go get your can and put it away because it could certainly, it could blow down the street. The low is in Kansas City. Look where that low is. So in terms of the overall storm threat, it is a squall line. It is not low pressure. All right. Temperatures right now in the mid to upper 60s. Outside, partly cloudy, winds gusting 24. Tomorrow in the morning, winds will gust from 30 to 40. There's the satellite. Nothing to worry about tonight. Nothing to worry about tomorrow. I do think there will be a few spots with some power outages with that wind as well. You may walk your cat at 3 a.m., Nick. Your cat will be fine. Your cat may blow away, but it will not be a category 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. It'll be somewhat tropical storm force winds. All right? So let's go ahead and time it out for you. We're going to go hour by hour for you. In the morning, 6 a.m., cloudy, windy, dry. Lunchtime, I will tell you, if there's ever a margin of error, they're about to do the coin toss, by the way, so we're still good. If there is ever a margin of error, a lot of times these models are a little slow with the timing, so it could be as early as lunchtime. But this is where it's looking at right now, around noon. There's 2 o'clock. I think between noon and 2, the leading edge comes through. Now, let me be very clear about this. I am not keeping my kid home from school. Absolutely not. I am not, for those who asked. Okay? Louis just put up his shutters. That's pretty funny, Louis. Unless you did, which you didn't need to. But I think you're joking, and that made me laugh. Okay, so. All right. The leading edge of this line is where the heaviest wind will be. That is the squall line. All right? 20 minutes, it'll be through your area. The rain will continue for another half hour. All right, so you get this? Let's use 2 o'clock as a time frame for anybody, right? It's going to be all over the place, but let's use this. If you live in a spot where the leading edge hits at 2 o'clock, from 2 to 2:20, it'll be the heaviest wind, the threat of a tornado, isolated tornado, and the heavy rain, the gusty winds. By 2:20, those heavy winds will be winding down. The severe threat will be winding down. The rain will continue for another 40 minutes. For most of the area, it'll rain for an hour at any given spot, where you'll get a half an inch to an inch of rain, period. That is what's going to happen. Now, I'm not saying everybody will get at 2 o'clock, but you get what I'm saying. The time frame, first 20 minutes will be the risk of the heaviest wind, the gusty winds, an isolated tornado, strongest water. 20 minutes to 40 minutes to 60 minutes, the rain winds down, it ends. The winds continue, but not the severe winds. And the tornado threat is only with the leading edge of the squall line. Okay? Coastal flooding is a completely different animal. If you live on the water, I'll say this again, water rise comes in with the wind, nothing to do with the actual line of rain and storms themselves. Okay? So they're two completely separate entities. But I'll say this again, there will be water rise in coastal areas. Not as much as last month, but there will be water rise. So if you live in an area that's notorious for flooding, maybe get some sandbags or make some preps. All right? All right, here we go. So they are about to kick off. It looks like Washington probably won. I don't know if they won, but Washington's kicking off. So my assumption is Washington won the toss and they elected to defer, because that's usually what happens. Okay, Tally, it is hitting it earlier in the morning. Okay, we'll go back. We'll go back. Okay, Michigan took the kickoff and Washington smothered them on the 15-yard line. 1st and 10 for the Wolverines on their own 15. All right. Anybody who doesn't normally watch me might be surprised. I know a heck of a lot more about sports than you might imagine. And when someone says, oh, stay in your lane, I could do color. I could absolutely do color for baseball or football. Not NBA, but I could for baseball or football. Let's get back to weather, shall we? All right, so there we go. There's 2 o'clock, all right? There's 3 o'clock. Remember, leading edge, first 20 minutes, that's where the worst of the weather will be. Rain lingers, winds continue to blow behind it, but not to the severe level. All right? Takes us to 6 o'clock, already winding down, moving through the area. And honestly, I think in terms of the game, one last thing, I think the difference of the game could very well be just the size of Michigan's O-line. The Big Ten loves to just manhandle people. It'll be interesting to see if Washington, who's been kind of suspect for the run as it is, if Washington can hang in with that. Or will Michigan just roll right over them? I mean, Washington's got our Dade City boy, for their quarterback, but you just wonder if Michigan's going to play ball control and keep him off the field. I think that's going to be the big question. Anyway, all right, so Michigan has a first down on about an 8-yard pass. All right, so there we go. 1st and 10, Michigan on the 27, I think it was. All right, back to the rain moving through. By 8 o'clock, it is over. Now, the flooding, again, nothing to do with the squall line per se and the rain. The winds behind it will continue to come at high tide, where the flooding risk will be not as great as last week, but still something. Okay? You'll be fine to go to the Lightning game tomorrow, Samuel. All right. And Michigan's running the ball, and they got about 8 yards, it looks like. I don't think there was a, yeah. So, yeah, that's going to be the key to the game, I think. Can Michigan keep Washington off the field? All right, so there we go. And then Thursday, we're fine. Here's a look at your winds, okay? Tonight, 20 to 25. Tomorrow morning, even before the rains arrive, you are going to see wind gusts of 30 to 40 miles an hour through much of the morning. It is going to be a very windy day. All right? Lunchtime, you can see the squall line. Winds 40 to 50. There comes the squall line. In that embedded line, that is when Michigan gets the first down. All right, Michigan 1st and 10. I think they're on about the 40, something close to it, it looks like. It's hard to see from here. And then there comes the squall line in the afternoon. And then look behind it. Wind's really not all that strong early, but then they pick up late evening and into the overnight hours at about 20 to 30. It's going to rain tomorrow. It's going to rain again on Friday. It's going to rain again on Tuesday. We talked about this 5 months ago. We were all over talking about this El Nino pattern, and it has lived up to its clippings, its press clippings. Really, really has. We are seeing a significant rain event tomorrow, a significant rain event next Tuesday, and the chance of some more rain on Friday as well. Temperatures look like my EKG, up and down, up and down, up and down. 60s Wednesday and Thursday, upper 70s on Friday. The front comes through, back to the low to mid 60s Saturday and Sunday, warms up again Monday, another cold snap next week with rain, and then the long range forecast well below average. So we are very much in a very changeable El Nino type of pattern. People asking about the times. I'll do the times again one more time. And you'll look at the map and you'll be able to figure out. Denny, if only. If only. All right, so there's a look at the forecast. Tomorrow, just say no. If you're considering going out in the water, you have lost your mind. There will be a gale warning or a storm warning. All right? And Washington is going to have to make adjustments, because they're just running all over. And usually the first series, sometimes that'll happen, and they make adjustments. But yeah, Washington, Michigan's line is doing what I thought they might, kind of manhandling Washington's D-line. Anyway, there's your southerly winds up to 50 knots tomorrow. All right, they went back to pass, and Washington sacked them. So it's about 2nd and 14, it looks like. All right. There's your tides. The high tide tomorrow evening is the one where I think you're going to have most of your water. Yeah. All right. Patio furniture, no, I think you're okay. I mean, if you have some lightweight stuff like beach chairs, maybe. But otherwise, I don't think it's a big deal. I mean, 30, 40, 40, 50, I think you'll be okay. Saturday, Sherry's asking about a wedding. I think Saturday will be okay. Oh, Michigan broke it outside. Oh, he is gone. That is a touchdown. Michigan Wolverines. Went inside, bumped it to the outside. There ain't nobody there. It's to the house. The Wolverines strike first. All right, there's your 7-day. Play-by-play and weather. All right, the rain tomorrow, rain on Friday. Out of here early on Saturday, more rain on Monday or Tuesday. All right? Okay. So let's go back and do hour by hour because some people asked about that. All right. Let's go back. And then we'll answer some questions. Okay. I want you to look at where you live. All right? Look at where you live. And watch the line. This is noon tomorrow, okay? There's noon. Let's do 1 o'clock. There's 1 o'clock, okay? Remember, the leading edge of that line is where most of the heavy wind will be. It'll only last for 15, 20 minutes in any given spot. There's the leading edge moving through Citrus and Hernando. There's 3 o'clock. It's going to be a fast-moving line, which is why I'm not expecting flooding rains. Coastal flooding and flooding rains are very different. Coastal flooding is from water being pushed from the Gulf. It's Gulf water. Flooding rains are fresh water from the raindrops, and I don't think we're going to see much of that because it's going to be moving through too quickly. There's 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and it's through. Okay? People asking about the long range. All right. Wanting to know where the 540 line is? Okay. Let's go back to square one. All right. This is tomorrow. All right. I want you to look at next week. Another big storm develops, very similar to what we got going on right now. Look at your low, look at your 540 line, You might even see some winter weather. A little bit of ice there in Alabama. Maybe even into the panhandle of Florida. Maybe. Look at that. Maybe. Maybe. That is next. What day is that? It's probably next. That's the 15th. That's a week from today. Maybe a little frozen precip in the extreme western panhandle. There's your 540 line. You kind of see it. And then the 540 line kind of gets hung up again, doesn't make it quite to Florida. It's a very progressive pattern. It's one that we get a storm every 4 or 5 days. Classic El Nino. All right? So, let's answer some questions. We've got another 5 minutes left on the streaming app. Again, thanks to the folks who are watching on Instagram. This is the first time we've been on Instagram Live. Had a lot of people show up right. In fact, it was funny because I posted it, and we usually have like the little slate thing, and somebody's like, oh, he must have butt-lived because he didn't know he's on. No, I know he's on. Okay, so now I'm looking. Tallahassee thoughts. My son asked the same thing. He's at FSU. They did close classes. They're going to get a squall line, folks. The entire state is going to get a squall line. Yes, I do think there will be a few tornadoes in the Panhandle. Yes, I do think there will be a few tornadoes in our area. They won't. And you know what? A couple of years ago, we had a similar setup to what happens tomorrow. And we had a sizable tornado that hit a couple of houses in Sarasota. It can happen. All right? There is that threat. Now, you look at the whole area, it's very, very slim chance of you being impacted directly by a tornado. But do I think there will be one or two that forms and one or two that may cause an issue? I do. And that'll be in the afternoon. But overall, the threat is extremely low for any given spot. Does that make sense? Okay. Leslie wants to know Zephyr Hills between 2 and 4. Again, the heaviest rain will be a 20-minute stretch at the beginning of when the rain arrives. It'll be really windy and really rainy for 20 minutes, maybe a severe storm, and then within 30 or 40 minutes after there, the wind ends and just a little bit of light rain and it's over. Everybody will get about an hour of rain, and the worst of it will be about the first 20 minutes. That's it. Everybody will see that. Okay? Tomorrow evening practice for soccer tomorrow morning, Sadie. Yeah, you'll be okay by tomorrow evening. Flying out Friday, yep, you'll be okay. There will be some rain. I don't think it'll be bad. Do I think the Skyway will close for about 20 minutes? Probably. Maybe about 20 minutes. In the early morning, it's going to be 30 to 40 mile an hour winds. That's tricky. I think it'll probably be open early morning, Allie. But yes, I do think there could be a period of time that it could shut down with the wind going as it is. Okay, I missed this play, but I think Washington Washington's advanced the ball. They usually play no huddle or very fast paced, and they're up to their own 42 right now. So Washington's first chance at Michigan's defense. Let's see how it goes. Personally, I think this game's a shootout. I think it's like a 42-38 kind of a game. Don't know who has the 42 or who has the 38. Crystal River flooding. Yes, again, coastal flooding, Crystal River. It's a spot that often floods. I think you'll have some water, a couple of feet. Not like last week, or last month, but I do think you will have some flooding. Okay. Schools in Pasco are closed tomorrow. Yes. Yeah, BJ, that's a no-go. Okay. Please compare coastal flooding. Yeah, Trish, I've done this half a dozen times so far. It will not be as bad as it was in December. There will be water rise. Areas that are notorious for flooding are going to see some water, but not to the degree that you had last month. Really not even close to the degree that you had last month. I would say about 2 feet lower than it was last month. Game day on Monday, the weather should be fine. Aaron? When will the worst of the weather be, Leslie? Zephyr Hills between 2 and 3, I would say. Parrish and Sarasota, I would say 4 to 5. Yeah, I've been showing the flood map. It's just for the coastal areas. Here, I can show you again. See, that's the thing. People show up in the middle of it and they miss it. There it is. There's your flood map. What do we got here? Looks like 3rd and I can't read how long, but it looks like maybe 3rd and 5 or something like that for Washington. And they made the reception. Oh, and a missed tackle, and that is a first down. Washington moving down to about the Michigan 35, it looks like. Okay. But I will tell you, I've been here 35 years. I've lived in Florida 35 years. I don't ever remember schools closing for a squall line before. Ever. It's interesting. I'm not saying it's the right or wrong call. I'm just noting that I've never seen it before. You can make the argument that because the worst of it will be right when school's about to close, maybe people want to avoid that. I get it. But I'm just noting, no, I guess they're on the 42. But I don't ever remember seeing it before. Oh, man, I missed the streamers. Darn it. Streamers left. Port Charlotte, yeah, again, very little chance of severe weather. The farther south you go, the less you're going to have to worry about that. Okay. You know, I mean, that's a good question. Well, I mean, I don't know. Are buses safe during an afternoon thunderstorm in the summer when we get 50-mile-an-hour winds? I mean, it's going to be windy. It is going to be windy. It will be. And will there be winds as high as 60 miles an hour? There will be. But that's, you know, that's above my pay grade. I'll tell you what the weather's going to be like. I'll tell you how it'll impact people. But, you know, in terms of public safety, that's not my call, fortunately, because I don't think that's one I could make. But I do find it fascinating that schools have been closed. And I don't ever remember schools closing for a squall line before. Okay. Hudson. I will say this in terms of the coastal flooding. I would go about 1.5 to 2 feet lower than last month. That is a sweeping generalization, but I think that's ballpark close. So if you were 5 feet last month, you might be 3.5 feet this time. 3 to 3.5 feet. It's a different setup. You don't have a low coming right in. You have a squall line. The winds are still going to push water, but not to the degree. The direction of the wind is also huge, because if you're facing west and the winds are out of the south, you're not going to flood. So this is so important to remember, where your house is in terms of coastal flooding, the direction it faces with the Gulf or the Bay is everything. And I can't answer that. Because if it's coming in, I will tell you, if you're looking out your door based on where the Gulf or the Bay is, and the winds are coming in the exact same direction in which your view is, your approach to the water, then you'll have a better chance of flooding, because that water will push in directly to where you are. But if you're facing south and the winds are blowing west, you're not gonna. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Morning, you'll be fine. Anybody in the morning, and it's going to be windy, 30 to 40 mile an hour winds. Your car might move around a little bit, but it's not going to be that bad. You can easily drive around in the morning. I'll say this again. Squall line comes through. It'll last about an hour. The first 20 minutes is the worst. After that, the winds die down, the severe threat ends, and you're just getting some rain for another half hour, and then it's done. That's it. That's it. Now, those winds, when that squall line comes, they can be very strong. They can gust 60. They can gust 65. You could see a few tornadoes. I'm not dismissing the intensity of the leading edge, but what I'm saying, it's only going to last for about an hour in any given spot. Okay? All right. Yeah, the whole schools thing. Thank you, Madeline. Appreciate it. No, Hillsborough County is not closed. As far as I've heard, the only schools closed are Pasco, and Citrus is leaving early. I think maybe Hernando. I'm not sure about that. Nobody else. Matter of fact, I read a post that Hillsborough and Pinellas was saying everything will be in order and no changes, but they could reevaluate tomorrow. All right? Okay. garbage cans in the morning, I'm telling you, it's going to be blowing down the street unless you get your garbage can in after they pick up your trash. That's a thing. It is going to be very windy. I got my Christmas decorations down on Friday. I finally got it done. It was very sad. You guys know how I am with Christmas decorations. It made me so sad because my house is so dark now. Let us see. Yeah, so areas off to the north. Yeah, I get it. Marion, Alachua, I don't know. But yeah, the FSU is closed tomorrow. I mean, I know some schools up in the Panhandle are because theoretically it's going to be a little worse there. The farther north you are, the more the wind's going to be. And it's under the adage, better safe than sorry. Plant City, 3 to 4. Yeah, 3 to 4 in terms of time frame. I just don't think it's a, it's a squall line. It's a squall line. I do think there will be a couple of I think we'll see a tornado watch. I think there'll be gusty winds, but it's a squall line, and we get 3 or 4 of these every year. And they're no different now than they were 5 years ago or 10 years ago. The difference is you're just surrounded by people yelling about it and screaming and hyping and whatnot. And it makes it bigger than it really is. And I think everybody gets sucked into that. I truly do. But one last time, there is a severe weather threat. You see it right there behind me. There's going to likely be a tornado watch. There will be some isolated tornadoes. There will be winds of 30 to 40 miles an hour. There will be some power outages with that, like a minimal tropical storm. But we're Floridians. We're kind of used to that stuff, right? So let's not freak out about this stuff. But the water rise, it's on you. I don't want to be disrespectful, but people came to me, how come I didn't know the water was rising? Well, then you weren't watching. Because we've been talking about it last month. We talked about it for a week. I honestly thought I talked about it too much, and I was getting a little worried that we were talking about all the coastal flooding. And then after it happened, how come we didn't know? You didn't tell me it was going to be that high. I'm like, really? Yeah, we did. Tomorrow will not be as high as last month, but there will be coastal flooding. So you need to know your zone if you live on the bay or on the Gulf and know how water is going to impact you and be prepared for it yourself. But I can tell you overall, yeah, about 1.5 to 2 feet lower than it was last month for a lot of reasons. Okay? Personal accountability. I just, for some reasons, that just seems to be waning sometimes. Okay, what am I missing? Risk of hail. I don't think we have any hail. Heavy rain and 20 minutes of gusty winds, and the rain will last an hour. That's it. Washington's down to the 10-yard line. So, looks like it's 2nd and goal now from the 10. Countryside, Beth, again, same thing. 3 o'clock-ish, 20 minutes of gusty winds. Rain will last for an hour. It's over. The wind will be gusty all morning for everybody tomorrow. 30 to 40 mile an hour winds. Damaging? No. But, maybe a lawn chair might knock over. A garbage can might go down the street. It's a possibility. All right, 2nd and goal. Washington running. Nothing there. And it's going to be 3rd and goal from the 8-yard line. All right. Anybody else? Yeah, if you have your 12-foot skelly up, Michelle, you better take it down. I'm with you. We didn't put ours up for Christmas. We took ours down November 1, because you know me. Plant City, again, same thing. No water issues. We will not have flooding rains. It's going to rain too fast. It'll rain for an hour and be over. You will not get flooding rains. The flooding will be pushed from the coastal areas. All right, 3rd and goal. The Huskies on Michigan's 7-yard line, it looks like. And it looks like he's calling a timeout. Yep, calling a timeout. All right. Any other questions? Do not need to bolt your grill down. Nope, you're all good. Peggy, I like both teams. I'm a Big Ten guy, but I was born in Seattle. So, I'm kind of like on both sides. And I'm a Penn State grad, so I'm a Big Ten guy. And I used to live in Michigan. But I lived in Michigan and I lived in Seattle. So I kind of like both, What about it? I will tell you, no matter what city you write on here, the impacts are the same. Timing, different. Dunedin, 3 o'clock. Arcadia, 5:30. But the impacts will be the same. First 20 minutes, gusty winds, heavy rain, maybe an isolated tornado, 1 or 2 in the entire area, maybe. Okay? After those 20 minutes, rain for 40 minutes, and then it's over. That's it. It's a squall line. Squall lines can get really bad. I remember we had a squall line like 15, 20 years ago, and we had a 92-mile-an-hour gust. It was Christmas Eve, I think. So squall lines can really pack a punch, but they only last for about 20 minutes at any given spot. But everybody will see it. It starts citrus around noon, 1 or 2. It ends southern counties, 5 or 6. Gainesville will be earlier. Gainesville, actually, wait a minute. Stand by on that. Let me check. I didn't look at the timing on Gainesville. Yeah, Gainesville's around noon or 1. So watch your area again. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3, there's 4, 5. The leading edge of this line is where all the heavy rain and the severe threat is. Yeah, Paula, he's a Dade City boy. In fact, he shouted out to Dade City after the last game that they won. He's like, Dade City. All right, so that's about it. All right. I do think we will have a tornado watch. I think it would be in the afternoon, like lunchtime until maybe 7 o'clock. But I repeat, remember, wherever you live, whenever that line gets there, the worst of it's only going to last for 20 minutes. That's it. That's it. And then 40 minutes of rain. There will not be flooding rains. There will be flooding along the coast from the water push. Won't have time to rain long enough for us to get any kind of flooding. All right? I think the Skyway could close for a brief period of time tomorrow. I do. I think once that line comes through, they could see 50 or 60, and they might close it for 20 minutes. You know, Sue, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. The coastal flooding, we don't want to minimize, but for the impacts for most of us, it's like an afternoon severe thunderstorm with an isolated tornado threat. That's the only other thing. All right, so Washington's back in, and here we go. It's 3rd and goal on the 7-yard line. Changing the play. Looks like got a little bitty TV about 30 feet away from me. And here we go. There's the snap, back to pass. Looking in the end zone, and it is incomplete. So Washington will attempt the field goal. All right, guys, that is about it. Be safe. Again, watch out for the flooding in areas that are typically flooding. Greg will be in tomorrow. Shay will be in tomorrow. I'll be in tomorrow. We'll be doing live hits. We'll be on TV. We'll be streaming on our app. We got you covered on all the stuff. But you know what? Let's not go overboard. It's a squall line. It's an area of thunderstorms. The worst of it will be 20 minutes on any given spot. We'll watch the threat of tornadoes. There will be a lot of wind during the day. It is not a hurricane, all right? It is not a strong tropical storm. But the coastal flooding is still something because it comes at a high tide of the month, so there will be some coastal flooding. Personal accountability. If you know your area and you know you flood, you got to take your preps now. About 1.5 feet lower than it was last month. That's the way I'm looking at it. All right? So you guys have a great night. We'll be updating overnight. We'll be updating throughout the day. And keep it right here for the latest on all your weather information. Thanks for stopping by, guys. You have a great night. We'll see you tonight at 11 on ABC Action News.
We the lazy declare that we will recline when we feel inclined. And yes, we feel inclined.
We answered our kids' questions all day. It's our time to prioritize, no priorities.
Why?
Because
We put in back-to-back doubles. So now we'll be putting in extra OT right here.
We've checked off our to-do list.
Now we're checking off our to-don't list.
We the lazy are taking back lazy.
By getting comfy on our lazy boy furniture.
Lazy Boy, long live the lazy.